This is Soul Whiskey, and I'm your host, life coach, and soul surgeon, Tiffany Falvey. My flavor is unfiltered, unapologetic, and unrefined. Truth pours fast here. It's bold, raw, and real. Buckle up because this is where grit meets grace, where the sacred collides with the chaos. Every doubt, scar, and wild hope is welcome because healing doesn't follow the rules, and it's never too late to become who you were always meant to be. Welcome back to the Soul Whiskey Podcast. Today, I want to talk about something that will help you align with the life that you want to live. I was thinking about it randomly. I was driving around. I was thinking about surfing and the very first time I went surfing and how hard it was because I didn't understand what it felt like to catch the wave. I'd never caught a wave before. And my cousin was cool enough to help me out. And he would literally take a thrashing with the waves, holding the board so it would be stable enough for me to pop up and surf. And it took me take one, take two, take three, take four. I mean, I just got hammered, annihilated. It was like the neti pot from hell. Like my sinuses were completely cleared out and I was exhausted and my eyes were scratchy from the sand. And eventually I did understand what that feeling was like to be able to surf. So fast forward, last summer, I spent some time surfing with my friend Jay, and he's an incredible coach when it comes to being patient and wise and very gifted, really, at coaching someone into surfing. He's incredible at it. And he invited me to learn. And at first, I was a little bit nervous about it. And my kids both said, Mom, say yes, go do it because they love surfing. And so I went out and in the beginning, it was really hard and I found myself holding on to the rope. I did not want to let go of the rope because it was like my lifeline. And I knew if I let go of the rope, I would probably lose my balance. Essentially, I would lose my balance. And eventually, with Jay's patience and his coaching, I was able to let go of the rope. And actually, I have to give my kids a little bit of credit because they were very helpful as well. Eventually, I threw the rope to the side and I started to learn where the sweet spot was, where the most comfortable spot was for me to be able to surf the wave. And every time I did it, I got a little bit better. And it may have just been a very small amount, but it still was an improvement from the time before. So when we are looking to manifest the life that we want, it's really important to remember that there are some similarities to surfing in regards to the vibe. What is the vibe that your ideal dream life would have? What's the vibe that your ideal dream partner would have? What would you have with that partner? What would you feel like? What's your vibe like when your finances are hitting that sweet spot where you want them to hit, where you can live the life that you want to live, where you can express yourself fully, you can be confident, you can be who you are? What is that like for you? It takes a little time and energy to sit in contemplation of that. Some of us meditate and we imagine ourselves in the dream state. So whether that be the health state, the body that you want to have, the fitness level that you want to have, the relationship that you crave, or the job that you want, the relationships that you want to have, the type of relationship that you want to have. What is that experience like for you? For the sake of being able to explain it in a way that hopefully will make sense to you, that is the sweet spot of the wave. And so what I've noticed is the more we practice mentally, it doesn't have to be physically. The more we, like when I say physically, I mean, you don't have to actually practice in reality, but you do have to practice in your head and in your body, which means practice the feeling of being on point with the version of you that you want to be, the version of you that you are stepping into. So once you figure out what that is, it's like virtually practicing your surfing. Now you know what it feels like to have the experience you want to have with your lover, with your job, with yourself. What's the experience you want to have with yourself? What does that feel like when you're spending time alone? I know that there's a lot of people that frankly are triggered by their alone time. And is that what you want? Would you rather feel comfortable when you get to have time alone? Would you like to feel great when you go to the gym? How do you want to feel when you choose to be sober when you go out one night? Do you want that to feel super awkward and uncomfortable? Or do you want to feel like that's your sweet spot, like you're on top of it, like you're in control? You have the ability to drive yourself home or drive your friends home. I'm not saying that that's how you want to feel. I'm saying decide how you want to feel. What is ideal for you? What feels dreamy for you? And it takes time to establish what that is for you. So let's say that you're hosting or you're entertaining a party, and normally you feel anxiety over it. Your house isn't clean enough. You don't know if you're going to be able to pull together the meal, or this isn't something you normally do. So you feel pretty uncomfortable. So you would want to ask yourself, how do I want to feel this time when I'm entertaining? Do I want to feel comfortable with the state of my home, however it is? Maybe there's some dust, maybe there's some clutter, maybe I got to hide some stuff in the closet. Do you want to feel comfortable with being exactly who you are? Do you want to feel embraced and cherished by the people that you choose to invite over? That's an experience, that's a feeling. Now, most of us are quite addicted to the negative experience, that cocktail of emotions that happens when we feel insecure, or let's say we're a perfectionist and we want everything to be perfect. What we get addicted to is the striving for perfection. I work with a lot of people that have this particular trait, so I'm very familiar with it. When you strive for perfection, there's this knot or a coiling of the muscles in your stomach, and you can feel it. It's almost always there because it's rare that you allow yourself to just breathe smoothly and fluidly because you're chasing this level of perfection that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist anywhere. You'll never achieve it. And those chemical feelings that you have inside, or the emotions, just basically the chemicals that are created through that experience, is what you're addicted to based on your childhood, based on your past. It's not really what's happening in current time, except for that you're replaying those thoughts, and those thoughts create those chemicals, and those chemicals are what you're addicted to. Now, I know that that was a lot, and it probably is hard to absorb or understand for some of you that have maybe some advanced knowledge and or education on that. You'll understand what I'm talking about. So when we're learning to surf the waves of our life, we're obviously going to fall off. It's going to happen. And in the very beginning, you're going to perhaps feel uncomfortable with the new experience. It's going to feel foreign. And if we're going to compare it to dating, the relationship might feel kind of boring because there's not that turbulence there that you're used to, right? So it's like surfing a very long, boring, let's say Hawaiian wave, instead of those really cool waves might get in Manhattan Beach, or somewhere else where the waves are just going back and forth and it's a little bit crazy. So in the beginning, you're going to notice that it may feel somewhat boring if we're talking about a relationship because you're used to the turbulence. But if we're talking about something like going out to dinner and being sober, that may not feel boring at all. It may feel very uncomfortable. So that would be you looking to find the sweet spot of the wave. So in the beginning, you might be white knuckling it on the rope when you're going out to dinner with your friends for happy hour and you're ordering a soda water with pineapple juice and a lime or something yummy like that. It may feel uncomfortable, and that's okay, because what we're doing is we're learning how to surf that wave. We're learning how to become addicted to the life that we want to have, because anytime that we are living incongruent with what we want to have, we're going to feel discomfort. And when we feel discomfort, that's where we build our strength. So even if we circle back to the surfing analogy, we get strong when we hold the position that previously was uncomfortable. I hadn't surfed in so many years when Jay asked me to go surfing. It had literally been since I was a kid. So, I mean, we're talking 30 years, truly, probably 30 years. I mean, I've done little stuff, but nothing like that. And it was in the beginning a strength building. I had to build strength to just be able to do it. And I'll always remember after those first few days, it's not like I just went once, right? I went multiple times because Jay was so generous in giving me turns. So I just kept having turns. And then after the third day, I couldn't even move. Like, I could barely walk. And I was like, Tiff, what is happening here? You need to pull yourself together. You need to get strong, because I knew that I wanted to be able to surf. Just like you out there listening, you know that you want to have this dreamy relationship. You know that you want to have this dollar amount in your bank account or in your savings account. You know you want to have this experience, whatever it is, the new car, the amazing sex, whatever it is that you fantasize about, there's going to be a learning curve to putting yourself in the position to be able to stay in the sweet spot, surfing that wave so that you can keep it, so that you can sustain it, so that you can be like, every once in a while you'll come across one of those reels, or you could even be watching a movie where someone can surf for a very long time and you're looking at it and you're like, that just looks incredible to be able to catch that wave and to surf it for that long time. It's even more incredible when you see two people doing it together. So they're like side by side and they're cruising, just like this, but there's two of them and they're cruising and they're just really enjoying the ride. That's what I want for you out there, is to learn how to enjoy the ride. And so it's so important to recognize that you have to build strength in what it is you want. So again, I like to bring up a few metaphors. So if one of them is making money, if you want to feel comfortable making money, then you have to get comfortable asking for money. You have to be comfortable looking for a job or a position that pays you what you feel you're worth. And a lot of people are very uncomfortable with that. It's so hard to ask for a raise, even if you've been there for a while, even if you know deep down what your worth is. There are these little firewalls within us that cause us to feel uncomfortable letting go of that rope and finding the sweet spot. Now, if we crash, or if the person that we ask for the promotion or the raise says no, then that often means that that's not the wave that you're meant to be surfing. And that's okay. If you've ever watched surfers out in the water, they'll let lots of waves go by. They look for the perfect wave. And sometimes they even let their buddies take a wave and they wait for the next wave. And so you want to be able to find the wave that suits you. And the way that you're going to do that is by learning to surf, learning the vibration that you want to be in. So, for example, an attorney is usually quite good at arguing their case one way or another. That in and of itself is a wave. And I've met a lot of people that do not like to surf that set of waves. They will do anything and everything to not argue. They can't stand the feeling. They will avoid it at all costs. They are people pleasers and they prefer to just get along. They don't want to have any conflict. So their set of waves is going to look quite different. I encourage you to avoid looking at the people around you or the people on your social media or whoever it is that you're looking at saying, oh, their set of waves looks great. It's not necessarily great. You have no idea what your set of waves is supposed to be like until you feel it. And part of feeling it is getting conscious of what you're surfing now. What does your life look like now? What's the experience that you have internally from the inside out when you surf your life every single day? What are your mornings like? What do you feel like? What's the wave that you feel from a digestion perspective every single time that you eat? Is it a wave that you like? I had one client that consistently and perpetually would overeat, and not just overeat, but overeat the wrong types of food for him. So one person can maybe eat a certain type of food, let's say bread, and it doesn't bother them, or dairy. And then another person eats that and it bothers them. So when you're eating, what is that wave like? Do you always eat until you're full? Are you somebody that eats foods that afterwards you get bad gas, you have indigestion, or you get heartburn, or you just feel overly full? Have you ever stopped to think about the experience you're having and how it's repeated? Because it tends to be repeated. I'll give you an example. I had a client once who said, yeah, I kind of have this indigestion every time I go out with all of my buddies, and we go out like 3 times a week after work. It's just like perfect. We work at wherever they work at. And there's a bar right down the road, and we go and we have food. And we have nachos, and then I go home and I just always feel terrible. And I know a little bit about digestion. And one of the things I know is that that hydrochloric acid in your stomach gets really diluted if we drink too much, whether that be water or soda or beer or wine or anything. It's ideal to not eat, even like a half hour before you eat and then a half hour after you eat, or even, I don't know all the logistics. I just know that when you are eating, you want that hydrochloric acid to be as strong and undiluted as possible. So when you're adding a bunch of liquid to it, like these guys were, my particular client was, he said he'd have about 3 beers every time in addition to the food. He didn't know what was causing it. And as a matter of fact, he thought it was the nachos. But when we went through and we started to eliminate certain things so that we could figure out what it was, he learned that it literally wasn't the nachos at all. He was fine with the nachos. It was the nachos in conjunction with the 3 beers. And he actually learned that he could have 1 beer and he could have nachos, and he felt much better. Like it was doable. He didn't feel 100%. So that's obviously not ideal, but he did feel much better. And so finding that sweet spot for you for a like a digestive perspective is really important. I know I'm at a stage now in my life where if I go out to lunch with someone, I usually will find out what they're ordering. And if they're ordering something that has French fries, I'll just ask them if I can poach a few fries, because that will satisfy that little craving that I have for something deep fried, or just, many of us, that is an indulgence. Like French fries are really tasty, and it's so hard to watch that person that's sitting across the table having their French fries. And you're like, yes, I have my wonderful salad over here. I mean, let's be real. Who doesn't want to have a fry or two? And back in the day, I would have told you there's no way I could just have a fry or two. Well, I will tell you from experience, you can just have a handful of fries and feel completely satisfied when you realize that you walk away feeling great. So it's almost like the gentleman I was talking about, when he only had 1 beer, he still walked away feeling really great. He felt like he got to spend time with his friends. He got to enjoy their company, and he got to have a beer, and he got to have some yummy nachos, and he went home and he slept better. So that was a great side effect of him surfing this brand new wave. He slept better. He didn't go to bed as full because he didn't eat as much, and he felt safer driving home. So there were a bunch of pros to him finding his particular wave and then learning to surf it. Was it easy to do in the beginning? No, it wasn't. And it wasn't because it's a hard thing to do. It's not hard to have 1 beer instead of 3 beers. It's just we get addicted to certain behaviors. No, he was not addicted to the beer, not in any way, shape, or form. He was just addicted to the behavior. It's what they did. So, with that being said, find your sweet spot. I don't know what it is for you. Only you know what that is. And the way you find your sweet spot is to figure out what you want it to look like, what you want it to feel like when you go about your day. And when you do, notice when you fall off, because I think that's so important, is to notice when you get a little bit wobbly and you fall off. What we sometimes call that is going unconscious. So you've forgotten for a second, right? And that does happen quite a bit after you've had one cocktail. You go a little unconscious and you go from 1 to 3 really quick. That's usually part of the unconscious stage of it. And then at that point, you probably order dessert when you wouldn't normally order dessert, or you order a second round of something, or you make the decision to drive when normally you wouldn't make that decision to drive. And you probably had decided even before you went out that you weren't going to drive, but now you've made a different decision. And so you're going to fall off from time to time, that wave. And that's part of the learning curve. You get back on, and you might spend a few minutes, days, weeks, I don't know, floating on that surfboard and just looking off into the horizon of your life, noticing what wave you want to catch, because you'll start to get better and better at this. You'll start to notice that you're getting better at surfing, and you'll also notice there's certain waves that you're better at catching, and then there's other waves that are just going to tear you up, spit you out, and make your life miserable. And so when you think about your life and you think about the waves that you're surfing right now, the relationships that you're in, or even the relationships that you've been in, ask yourself how you would identify that wave if you were able to do it all over again. Would you be able to see that wave from the beginning? Most of the time people say yes, they could see it. They just were somewhat unconscious the first time around. And I think that's to be expected when we're learning the vibration game and we're learning to put ourselves in the vibration of the version of ourselves that we want to be. And so recently, I've been really explaining to everybody that I want them to learn to get radically addicted to the version of themselves that they want to be, to the life that they want to live. So what that means is you start to get addicted to the chemicals that create the version of you that you want to have. So if that's a loving, mutually respectful relationship, then you wouldn't settle for anything different because your addiction is going to be on that mutual level of respect. It's going to be on kindness and care and love. And that is what will start to move the needle of your life. That is what will start to turn your ship totally in a different direction, is to notice where you're going to get excited to eat well. You're going to get excited to have either 0 cocktails or 1 cocktail, or you're going to get excited to feel your feelings, whereas previously you may have wanted to numb them. And when I say numb them, I'm not necessarily talking about having a drink. It might be getting angry, right? It might be overworking out. It might be porn. It could be anything. But start to get excited or addicted to experiencing your feelings, processing them, digesting them, and understanding them, assimilating them, and allowing yourself to move through them. Notice I didn't say past them. When you move through your feelings, you are able to absorb all of the information that they have for you. So it's a little bit like there are some people that find themselves malnourished from a doctor's perspective or diagnosis. They are malnourished. And it's not because they're not eating well. It's not because they're not supplementing. It's not because they're not doing all the things right. It's because for some reason they're not able to absorb or assimilate it. And so many of us have a proclivity of not being able to absorb and assimilate the very best experiences that are available to us, whether that be in love, whether that be in our financial world with wealth and prosperity, whether that be in health. And so when you start to become more accustomed and allowing yourself to have those experiences that are more healthy. So many of us know what it feels like to have been on a sad diet in every way, shape, or form. It's just straight up sad. We're eating deep fried food. Maybe we're eating cereal for breakfast or things that just do not honor us. And maybe we don't know. Maybe we've never studied nutrition. So we have no idea that what we're doing is harming us. And so we don't feel great. And that's our regular state. And so every single day we wake up and we do the same thing over and over and over again. We eat the same exact thing for lunch and we're just not feeling good. And what's sad about that is oftentimes we might lean on prescription drugs. We might lean on alcohol. We might lean on binging TV shows or scrolling social media or just things that don't allow us to absorb and assimilate the feelings that we're having. Because the only way you can surf, and you guys, I mean this literally, the only way you can surf is to be totally present. You can't be watching TV. You can't be having sex while you're surfing. I mean, unless you're having some type of wild surfing sex. But in general, when you're surfing, you're present. You're 100% present. You're breathing in the air. You're looking at the beautiful scenery around you, and you're tapping into your body. You're tapping into your feelings. You're really honed in to yoking together your body, your mind, and your soul. That's what's happening in that experience. And so if we could take that surfing metaphor and we could use it within every area of our life, if we don't feel good about our finances and we don't feel like we're surfing it from the perspective that makes us feel good and empowered and on top and balanced, if we're spending more than we're earning, that's not balance. That means we're falling off, perpetually falling off. Every single time we're making that purchase of spending more than what we're earning, that's us falling off. And like I said, that's okay. We're going to fall off. But when we become more addicted to staying on the board and balanced and enjoying the fun that surfing has to offer or that being in that sweet spot has to offer, then that's when new chemicals start being produced within our body. And we have the ability to get addicted to that. And that's what I get most excited about. That's what I represent. That is what I stand for, is let's get ridiculously addicted to the chemicals of our future self, the person that we want to be, the person that we dream about being. So in order to do that, we have to spend some time in the dream. That's what we have to do. When I was young, I used to love taking naps, and not for the reason that you think. because I never slept. I did not like sleeping. I always wanted to be, my mind would just go 100 miles an hour. But what I loved about napping is it allowed me to slow everything down that was happening in the physical world, and I could speed everything else up that was happening in my mental landscape. And that was fun for me. I think I've still told this story before, but I'll tell it again. For a lot of professional athletes out there, if they are injured, they use their mental faculties to practice. Because if they can't use their body, they're going to use their mind, and that will keep them sharp and on point. People do this financially, people do this in love. I mean, that's one question that people ask me quite a bit is, Tiff, I don't know, I don't really understand romance. How does romance work? Because either you have it or you do not have it when it comes to romance. And the thing about romance that I'm thinking through right now as I'm talking is that it's a little bit like getting in the headspace of thinking about someone even when you're not with them. So thinking about what they would really like, thinking about, when you're hanging out with them and they drop oh, that's really cool. I love that. And then you remember it in your head, or you write it down, or you put it in your notes, because there's going to be a future time where you're going to want to be able to go and get that and create an experience for your lover or partner or child or parent or somebody. So romance is thinking about the table that you want at the restaurant before you're ever at the restaurant, imagining yourself at the table. One table I never like to be at is the one that's right next to the restrooms. I won't do it. I'll wait as long as it takes for me to be at another table. When I make the reservation, I say, please ensure that I am as far away from the restroom as possible. Or I just ask for the table that I like. That's even better. Like, that's the best case scenario, is to have been to the restaurant before and to know what your favorite table is. So that's what I'm suggesting in your regular life. Create an environment where you know what the restaurant of your life looks like. You know what the perfect table is where you like to sit. You even know the server that's your favorite. You even can feel yourself tipping the server, over tipping the server so that they are so excited to serve you each and every time that you come. That is what we do when we want to create the life of our dreams, is we spend some time getting comfortable and practicing the version of ourselves that lives in that dream. Now, most of the time, it's not who we are today. It's someone that we're going to be tomorrow. And we can expedite that process quite a bit by slowing down just a little bit, taking the time to meditate. If you don't do traditional meditation, then just do it right before you go to bed. Do it when you're in the shower. Speak it into fruition. Talk about what it is you want. Talk about what you want your finances to look like. Talk about what you'd like your fitness regimen to look like. What do you want it to look like? Do you want to work out once a week, 3 times a week, 7 days a week? What do you want it to look like? Because once you figure that out, once you spend the time to articulate it, at least to yourself, now you can start to formulate a plan in a sweet spot, and you'll start to visualize who you have to be in order to get to the gym. And maybe it's not the gym for you. Maybe it's something different. Maybe it's a sport. Maybe it's yoga. Maybe it's walking. Maybe it's, my son loves to do push-ups every morning. Maybe it's push-ups. Maybe it's sit-ups. Maybe it's sprints. Maybe it's, I've got a little trampoline and I like to do the rebounding. It doesn't really matter what it is. What matters is that you spend the time figuring out what honors you and what you can digest and assimilate in a way that feels good for you. Because if your life doesn't feel good for you, something's not right. And the sooner that you admit that to yourself, and the sooner that you realize that it can be different and you can get excitedly addicted to something that serves you. For some reason, that word addictive has a negative connotation, and I'd like to change that right here today, right here in the moment, because I haven't heard very many people over the course of my life use the word addicted with something that's good or positive. Even when people say, oh, they're addicted to working out, they don't mean it in a positive way usually. So what if we did get addicted in a positive way? What if we were addicted to eating healthy? I'm not saying that you can't have the French fries, for sure. I'm not saying you can't have the creme brulee or the ice cream or whatever, the chocolate or the glass of wine or whatever your guilty pleasure is. But when we're addicted to being healthy, honestly, we don't crave those other things. That's the most shocking thing that my clients have come back to tell me is they go, Tiff, you were right. I stopped craving that stuff when I became addicted to the healthy. I have my own personal story about that. I used to love the breaded coconut shrimp dipped in that yummy sweet like chili sauce. I used to love it. I thought it was so good. And for some reason, the shrimp were always really big. And it was just like such a yummy combination of flavors. I always really liked it. When I started to get healthy and I started to get addicted to making healthy choices that allowed my stomach to feel better, I didn't crave it anymore. I barely crave bread anymore. And that's only because I don't like having that really full feeling. And that's partially why I don't crave beer like I used to crave beer, because I don't want to feel like I just drank a loaf of bread. It's not that I don't like beer. I do like beer. I do like the taste of beer, especially like a great, nice, crisp IPA. I love that. I don't crave it like I used to crave it. I can take it or I can leave it. And it's because I'm so addicted to the feeling, not the thing, but the feeling. So those start to like just recognize as you're going about your life and you notice when something doesn't feel good, ask yourself, what about that am I addicted to? The other day I was driving by a donut shop with my son and I can't remember the last time I had a donut. It's been a really long time. Like, I mean, the kids were young and in school, and every once in a while for a special treat, we would stop by and I'd get a maple bar. That was my favorite. So we were driving by and I said, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be fun to go get a donut? And I instantly thought about it. And what I was able to correlate it to is the sweetness. It's so sweet and it's so satisfying for all of, I don't know, it might take me like 2 minutes maybe to finish the donut. And then boom, it's not satisfying anymore. It's done. And then I have this like, it almost feels like anxiety a little bit, the rush that I get, the sugar rush that I get from that. And there's probably seed oils and everything else in there. So you get this like high rush. And then almost immediately after that, I start to feel a crash, if not a headache. And what I realized is that's not a part of my addiction profile anymore. So it's not something that I lean into or that I want to do. And the same is true with people that binge watch particular shows. There was a time when I would do that. I mean, you got a great show like Suits and you just want to binge the whole thing, right? Or Ozark, and you're just like, I'm all in. Like every free moment that you have, you want to watch that. That's fine if that's your gig. At one point, I decided that I would rather have a clean house. And that meant taking those 2 hours, or let's say it's 3 hours that you're going to watch a show. Imagine putting those 3 hours into the experience of having a clean home. That's a game changer. Imagine taking those 3 hours and using it to stretch or work out or call your mother or your father or your sister or your brother or your child. What do you choose to be addicted to? Because whatever you choose to be addicted to, it is going to commit itself to you 100%. So what is it that you're putting a ring on? Is it health? Is it wealth and prosperity? Is it joy and happiness? Is it excitement? Is it fun, juicy, sexy, mutually respectful relationships? Is it great food that honors your body? Is it workouts that inspire you to keep coming back for more? That strengthens you, that causes you to feel fit and strong? What is it? What is it that you want to be addicted to? I think that what I'm going to leave you with is these three things. Allow yourself to dream about the life that you want to have, and then ask yourself, what is it that I should practice being addicted to if I want to have that life? What is it that it requires of me in order to be successful at having that life? And then the third thing is practice, 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 practice. Every time you fall off that surfboard, every time you become misaligned, allow yourself to get back on over and over and over again until you find the sweet spot and you start noticing that you're on the board, you're in the frequency longer than you're off, longer than you're misaligned. And soon, before you know it, you're going to wake up and you're going to say, my gosh, my entire life has changed. All right, let's call it a wrap for today. If something in you stirred, if a truth landed, or a question cracked open, and you want to go deeper, I'm here for that. You can reach me at info@soulwhiskey.com or follow along at Soul Whiskey Club on Instagram. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and stay true.